Hi, I'm Jessica Devine from Rise Above Lyme. The subject of Lyme testing comes up daily. This is why I've chosen to cover this in 2 videos. So please check out my video on why Lyme tests are often unreliable. Today I want to discuss the most common and accepted way to test for Lyme disease. It is called the TwoTier Test, and involving the first, the Elisa, and if that is positive, then the Western Blot. The problem is the Elisa is so narrowly focused and misses about 70% of all positive cases of Lyme. Even worse, many standard labs actually refuse to run the Western Blot without a positive Elisa. Not that the standard Western Blot is much better. It misses more than 50% of all positive cases of Lyme. The unreliability of these tests for detecting active Lyme is why the CDC has said Lyme should be diagnosed clinically by symptoms and history of exposure. Now, when doctors don't do that, many people go on to become chronically ill. I want to help you understand what to look for if you get a Western Blot test done with a negative result. There are clues on the test which can indicate you do in fact have a positive result, even though the official finding is negative. So the Centers for Disease Control, CDC, states that certain bands in the Western Blot test must be positive in order for the Lyme test to be positive. These bands were chosen for statistical reasons and not diagnostic criteria. 2 specific bands, 31 and 34, were excluded from the CDC criteria because they were used to create the Lyme disease vaccine, which is no longer available. This action actually eliminated valuable testing data. So on your test, you might see a plus sign, 2 plus signs, or even 3 plus signs, or the letters IND, representing indeterminate. These symbols represent the immune response to the specific part of the bacteria. The plus plus and the plus 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 results show a strong immune response to the Lyme bacteria itself. Now, most patients have a poor immune response because their immune system has become compromised. This happens in most late stage or severe Lyme disease. I was taught that IND, indeterminate result, is actually a weak positive immune response to Lyme disease and should be treated as a positive result. Now, after you've been treating a while, many patients who retest end up having stronger results because their immune system has been able to mount a more effective response against the bacteria. I've witnessed this in my own testing. Another confusing part of understanding your results on the Western Blot is the letters you see, IgG and IgM. Let me explain what those are. The IgM is the body's response to a recent exposure to Lyme disease. An IgM positive test result means more recent or currently active infection. IgG is generally regarded as the body's response over time, longer term, to Lyme disease. IgG can be a sign of a current infection if symptomatic, or of a past exposure or past infection. So basically, IgG positive means previous exposure to the bacteria or older infection of Lyme, unless symptoms are present. So, if no symptoms are present with IgG positive, it may mean an inactive Lyme disease infection. Now, because our immune systems are compromised, the IgG and IgM responses can become mixed up, adding more confusion. There are 9 identified bands specific to Lyme disease. 18, 23 through 25, 31, 34, 37, 39, 83, 93. Dr. Horowitz explains that the following bands are Lyme specific. If you have only one of these, you have been exposed to the Lyme bacteria. The ones he mentions are 23, 31, 34, 39, 83, and 93. Often referred to as the Lyme bingo. Now, A plus sign or indeterminate to one of these bands is considered a positive result. A positive or indeterminate to 2 or more of these bands is considered a strong positive result. Other bands you may see on the Western blot are 22, 28, 30, 41, 45, 58, 66, and 73. Now, all of these mean something, but at this stage are not necessarily considered an absolute specific for Lyme bacteria. Now, when I initially tested for Lyme, I only got band 41, which is not considered Lyme specific. I could do a whole video on band 41, honestly. But when I retested 6 weeks later, I was CDC positive. So keep that in mind before you move on. I would not be here today had I not retested and got educated on this. Now, I must firmly state that a Lyme disease diagnosis does not have to be based on the blood test, but is based on medical history and current presenting symptoms. Now, blood tests can certainly assist in diagnosis, but should not be used to base a diagnosis on. Almost every Lyme disease patient has co-infections such as Ehrlichia, Rickettsia, Babesia, Bartonella, Mycoplasma, Chlamydia, pneumonia, to name a few. Now, there are separate tests for each of these, and I have videos covering the most common co-infections on my channel with more to come. Those go into detail about symptoms and the testing on those. They have their own diagnostic problems themselves, but should be considered in a diagnosis and treatment of any patient with Lyme disease. I will put detailed information regarding the different bands in the description box below to help you understand each band. I hope this helps some of you out there. I know it's a lot to understand, and it has taken me years to try to simplify this for others. So please reach out to me if you need help. Please subscribe if you want to get alerts to more videos, and thanks for listening.